magic effectively, the ability to concentrate the attention must be built up until the mind can create a trance-like condition. This is accomplished in a number of stages: absolute motionlessness of the body, regulation of the breathing, stopping of the thoughts, concentration on sound, concentration on objects, and concentration on mental images. Motionlessness. Arrange the body in any comfortable position and try to remain in that position for as long as possible. Try not to blink. Try not to move. Don't even fart. I just added that. Sorry. Try not to blink or move the tongue or fingers or any part of the body at all. Do not let the mind run away on long trains of thought, but rather observe oneself passively. What appeared to be a comfortable position may become agonizing with time, but persist. Set aside some time each day for this practice and take advantage of any opportunity of inactivity which may arise. Record the results in the magical diary. One should not be satisfied with less than 5 minutes. When 15 minutes has been achieved, proceed to regulation of the breathing. Breathing. Stay as motionless as possible and begin to deliberately make the breathing slower and deeper. The aim is to use the entire capacity of the lungs, but without any undue muscular effort or strain. The lungs may be held empty or full between exhalation and inhalation to lengthen the cycle. The important thing is that the mind should direct its complete attention to the breath cycle. When this can be done for 30 minutes, proceed to not thinking. Not thinking. The exercises of motionlessness and breathing may improve health, but they have no other intrinsic value aside from being a preparation for not thinking. The beginnings of the magical trance condition, while motionlessness and breathing deeply begin to withdraw from the mind any thoughts which arise. The attempt to do this inevitably reveals the mind to be a raging tempest of activity. Only the greatest determination can win even a few seconds of mental silence. But even this is quite a triumph. Aim for complete vigilance over the arising of thoughts and try to lengthen the periods of total quiescence. Like the physical motionlessness, this mental motionlessness should be practiced at set times and also whenever a period of inactivity presents itself. The results should be recorded in your diary. The magical trances. Magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. The will can only become magically effective when the mind is focused and not interfering with the will. The mind must be first discipline itself to focus its entire attention on some meaningless phenomenon. If an attempt is made to focus on some form of desire, the effect is short-circuited by lust of result, expectation, egotistical identification, fear of failure, and the reciprocal desire not to achieve desire, arising from our dual nature, destroy the result. Therefore, when selecting topics for concentration, choose subjects of no spiritual, egotistical, intellectual, emotional, or useful significance. Meaningless things. Object concentration. The legend of the evil eye derives from the ability of wizards and sorcerers to give a fixed, dead stare. This ability can be practiced against any object: a mark on a wall, something in the distance, the space in between objects, a star in the night sky, anything to hold an object with an absolutely fixed, unwavering gaze for more than a few moments proves extraordinarily difficult, yet it must be persisted in for hours at a time. Every attempt by the eye to distort the object, every attempt by the mind to find something else to think of, must be resisted. Eventually, it is possible to extract occult secrets from things by this technique, but the ability must be developed by working with meaningless objects. Sound concentration. The part of the mind in which verbal thoughts arise is brought under magical control by concentration on sounds mentally imagined. Excuse me. Any simple sound of one or more syllables is selected. For example, or om. Abracadabra. Yod. He. Thou. He. That was my ego saying hi. Mani. Padme. Zazas. Zazas. The chosen sound is repeated over and over in the mind to block all other thoughts. No matter how inappropriate the choice of sound may seem to have been, you must persist with it. Eventually, the sound may seem to repeat itself automatically, and it may even occur in sleep. These are encouraging signs. Sound concentration is the key to words of power and certain forms of spellcasting. Image concentration. The part of the mind in which pictorial thoughts arise is brought under magical control by image concentration. A simple shape such as a triangle, circle, square, a cross, or crescent is chosen and held in the mind's eye without distortion for as long as possible. Only for the most determined efforts are likely to make the imagined form persist for any time. At first, the image should be sought with the eyes closed. With practice, it can be projected onto any blank surface. This technique is the basis of casting sigils and creating independent thought forms. The three methods of attaining magical trance will only yield results if pursued with the most fanatical and morbid determination. These abilities are highly abnormal and usually inaccessible to human consciousness, as they demand such inhuman concentration, but the rewards are great. In your magical diary, record each day's formal work and whatever extra opportunities have been utilized. No page should be left blank. Metamorphosis. The transmutation of the mind to magical consciousness has often been called the Great Work. It has a far-reaching purpose, leading eventually to the discovery of the true will. Even a slight ability to change oneself is more valuable than any power over the external universe. Metamorphosis is an exercise in willed restructuring of the mind. All attempts to reorganize the mind involve a duality between conditions as they are and the preferred condition. Thus, it is impossible to cultivate any virtue like spontaneity, joy, pride, grace, omnipotence, without involving oneself in more conveniently sorrow, guilt, sin, or impotence in the process. In any state of mind might arbitrarily be chosen as an objective for transmutation, but there is specifically virtue of the ones given. The first is an antidote to the imbalance and possible madness of the magical trance. The second is a specific against obsession with the magical practices in the third section. They are laughter, non-attachment, non-disinterest. Attaining these states of mind are accomplished by the process of ongoing meditation. One tries to enter into the spirit of the condition whenever possible to think about the desired result at other times. By this method, a strong new mental habit can be established. Consider laughter. It is the highest emotion, for it can contain any of the other emotions from ecstasy to grief. It has no opposite. Crying is merely an underdeveloped form of it, which cleanses the eyes and summons assistance to infants. Laughter is the only tenable attitude in a universe which is a joke played upon itself. The trick is to see that joke played out even in the neutral and ghastly events which surround one. It is not for us to question the universe's apparent lack of taste. Seek the emotion of laughter at what delights and amuses. Seek it in whatever is neutral or meaningless. Seek it in what is horrific and revolting. Thought, or though it may be forced at first, one can learn to smile inwardly at all things. Non-attachment, non-disinterest, best describes the magical condition of acting without lust of result. It is very difficult for humans to decide on something and then to do it purely for its own sake, with feeling, instead of for feeling. Yet, it is precisely this ability which is required to execute magical acts. One only single pointed awareness will do. Only single pointed awareness will do. Attachment is to be understood, both in the positive and negative sense. For aversion is its other face. Attachment to any attribute of oneself, one's personality, one's ambitions, one's relationships, or sensory experiences, or equally, aversion to any of these will prove limiting. On the other hand, it is fatal to lose interest in these things, for they are one's symbolic system or magical reality. Rather, one is attempting to touch the sensitive parts of one's reality more lightly in order to deny the spoiling hand of grasping desire and boredom. Thereby, one may gain enough freedom to act magically. In addition to these two meditations, there is a third, more active form of metamorphosis, and this involves one's everyday habits. However innocuous they might seem, habits in thought, word, and deed are the anchor of the personality. The magician aims to pull up the anchor and cast himself free on the seas of chaos. To proceed, select any minor habit at random and delete it from your behavior. At the same, adopt any new habit at random. The choices should not involve anything of spiritual, egocentric, or emotional significance, nor should you select anything with any possibility of failure. By persisting with such simple beginnings, you become capable of virtually anything. All works of metamorphosis should be committed to the magical diary. Basically, magic is manifestation on many different levels. Whenever I read a book called Open to Channel about 14 years ago, it had a different levels and styles of meditation to get into different trance states for channeling. And one night I decided to set up a little ceremonial space for myself, and I'd read that book Open a Channel, and also that book The Holographic Universe by Mark Talbot, and I talked about that graph with the dot and the star, and when you stare at this dot with the graph and close one eye and move the book to the side, the star off to the side disappears and reappears, disappears and reappears. So the book, just that experiment that you get to actually do right there, you see for yourself that there's all these blank spots in your peripheral vision. So I got the idea to, it's like if all those blank spots are in your vision when your eyes are open, what's to say that they're not there when they're closed, making up for the darkness that's there. So I had an idea to get into this little ceremonial space, lit some candles, and put a piece of citrine in front of myself, and turned out all the lights, and completely blindfolded myself, and practiced these trance states from uh, that book opening the channel, and after 30 minutes of shutting off all my senses completely, the practice that I was doing for that 30 minutes was, I was completely blindfolded. All the lights were out. There was no way that I could see anything. So for 30 minutes I was putting my hand in front of my eyes, pretending that it was the book with that graph and the dot and the star off to the side, seeing the star disappear, but I was just basically imagining that being my hand. And after 30 minutes of doing that, or actually 20 minutes of doing that, I started to see different shades of black, different shades of darkness, kind of contrasting themselves. And after 30 minutes, I started to see this green light reflecting off of my hand to where I could see all the details, all the lines, and I could literally see my hand perfectly, all the details, and it was a matrix green light that was reflecting off of it. And then I thought to myself, like, where is this light coming from? And I look over and I go to touch this light, and it's this green electric ball wrapping around whatever it's wrapping around. Right when I actually touch it, I'm touching the tip of the citrine crystal, and I was mind blown, and I took my hand off and the light was gone off of the crystal, and it was actually on my finger now, wrapping around my finger. I'm still blindfolded in the dark, and when I had one logical thought, trying to analyze and logify the situation, and poof, all gone. I tried to get back into that state after 5 or 10 minutes and gave up again. I was like, I'm not going another 30 minutes of trying to meditate and get in this trance state. That shit was so hard. But the possibility of exercising your third eye and getting into super dark spaces and seeing what you can do whenever you turn off all of your senses and focus on meaningless darkness. Hope you guys are having an amazing day. I know that I am. Had a great breakfast, got a good workout in, took Scout for a walk, and got a little dirt bike ride in. It's a good start for the day. It's only 2 o'clock. I've already pretty much done a whole day's worth of stuff. Love you guys. Have an amazing day.